Upon learning that Ye Yihe, known as the King of Scrolls, in the entertainment industry, had willingly fallen to participate in a love show, many black fans expressed that her character was shattered and that she should quickly get out of the entertainment industry. As soon as she appeared, the black fans immediately mocked, "What else do you have besides this vase? A mere vase also wants to touch the immortal brother. Dream it. Just her. Pooh." Unexpectedly, there was a sudden change in the art style later. "Sister Fairy, take a look at me. I can. Don't think about it upstairs. This is clearly my future wife." Just as everyone was arguing endlessly, a certain tycoon's jealousy jar overturned and without hesitation, he directly revealed his marriage certificate. "I hold a certificate to work, and this is my wife at Ye Yihe. Novel keyword. Thank you for inviting me." The queen of the movie Role King has become popular on the love show without a pop-up window. Thank you for inviting me. The queen of the movie Role King has become a huge hit on the love show. Download the complete TXT collection. Thank you for inviting me. The queen of the movie The King of Scrolls has become a sensation in the love show, with the latest chapter being read. Chapter 1. Get out of the entertainment circle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Get out of the entertainment circle. Ye Yihe, get out of the entertainment industry. Who said she has a strong career ambition? Isn't this pure romantic brain? Hurry up and buy a plane ticket to dig wild vegetables. As her iron fan, I don't want to talk anymore. Let's just leave it at that. I'll lose my fans. It's a disaster. I used to say she was definitely pretending, but now she's fully exposed. This kind of person should get out of the entertainment industry. I'm really disappointed. We misread the person. If I were Ye Yihe, I would never do such a foolish thing. I really don't know what she thinks. What's her brain? A good persona was completely destroyed by her, betraying the fans' trust in her. Oh, it's really chilling. At this moment, Ye Yihe in their mouths was heading to the recording site of the variety show, completely unaffected. On the contrary, the assistant beside him had a worried expression on his face, wanting to speak several times but not saying a word, very hesitant. Ye Yihe leaned back in his seat, taking a nap, and said calmly, "If you have anything to say, just say it." Upon hearing these words, the assistant couldn't help but speak up, "Sister Yihe, why don't we go back and discuss with Sister Sue to withdraw from the recording of this variety show now?" Ye Yihe lifted his eyes, but there were no waves in his eyes. "What is the reason?" "Since announcing your participation in this love show to the public, fans have been very resistant, and a large number of fans have already publicly expressed their intention to officially leave their fans. Even one of your big fans just said. What are you saying?" The assistant gritted her teeth and said in one breath, "She said if you insist on participating in this variety show, she will turn pink and black." Oh, Ye Yihe still had no expression. The assistant felt extremely anxious and continued, "Sister Yihe, are you not in a hurry at all?" Upon hearing this, Ye Yihe reached out and touched her head, saying softly, "Sweetheart, I'm just participating in a variety show. If they can't even accept this, let's take off the fans." But what else did Tian want to say? Ye Yihe stuffed a strawberry into her mouth and blocked it. Everyone has the right to choose. Since they choose to leave, we can't force them to stay, understand? The strawberries we bought this time are good, give them a try. Although Tian, who was gagged, was still a bit depressed, she nodded. "You're so good." Ye Yihe touched her head again and then continued to rest with his eyes closed. "Sister Yihe, here we are." As soon as the car stopped, Ye Yihe immediately opened his eyes. "Sister Yihe, this is your suitcase. This season's program has been revised and broadcasted live. In other words, the live broadcast starts from the moment you get off the car." Sweetheart handed her the suitcase with a reluctant expression. Due to the regulations of the production team, agents and assistants are not allowed to accompany, so only Ye Yihe can enter alone. Ye Yihe slightly curled his lips and reached out to take the suitcase, comforting Tian Tian. I've read all the rules, so feel free to go back. See you next week. Tian Tian nodded her head forcefully, her eyes turning red, and she whispered, I heard that Bai Yan also signed up for this variety show. You must be careful. Upon hearing this name, Ye Yihe raised his eyebrows slightly. Unexpectedly, she also came. She was really relentlessly pursuing her. After seeing off the assistant getting on the car, Ye Yihe carried a suitcase to the door of the love house and, without hesitation, pushed the door open and walked in. To her surprise, a handsome man was already sitting in the living room. She thought she was already very early an hour earlier, but she didn't expect anyone else to be earlier than her. Ye Yihe silently sighed in his heart, saying that she must be earlier next time. The man sat on the sofa wearing headphones, his eyes fixed on the phone screen, his fingers quickly flipping, it seemed like he was playing a game. Combined with his appearance, Ye Yihe had already guessed his identity in his heart. The recently popular genius esports champion online, Gu Bei. It is rumored that this esports superstar not only has a cold and aloof personality, but also has a serious obsession with cleanliness. Unexpectedly, the production team was able to invite him over. It seems that they have put in a lot of effort. After pondering for a moment, Ye had decided not to disturb him for now. He put down his suitcase and found an inconspicuous corner to continue delving into the script. So, Ye Yihe sat in the corner reading the script, while Gu Bei sat on the sofa playing games. The two of them didn't disturb each other, and although neither of them spoke, they looked exceptionally harmonious. At this moment, the barrage is full of enthusiasm, with most of them being fans of Gu Bei. Who can tell me what the situation is? Aren't they here to participate in the love show? Why does it look like there's no ambiguous atmosphere at all? Gu Bei, the male god, is also too handsome. He is just my ideal type, who can bear it? Whispering, why did the male god participate in this love show? The male god is mine. No one wants to compete with me. Does anyone know who that woman in the corner is? She's actually indifferent to Gu Shen. She must be pretending, right? Is that worth mentioning? She must have done it intentionally, with the aim of attracting Gu Shen's attention. Unfortunately, she had the wrong idea. Gu Shen dislikes people who are hypocritical like her the most. Leaving aside everything else, do you think she's really beautiful, like an angel falling into the mortal world? Just as everyone was discussing, the door of the love house opened again, and a woman in a white short skirt and sunglasses walked in with a pink suitcase. She took off her sunglasses and looked around the room, seemingly looking for someone, but when she saw Gu Bei, she was clearly stunned for a moment. The barrage also became lively again. Who is this again? It looks a bit familiar to me, but I can't remember for a moment. The look in her eyes was clearly aimed at the male god. I hope the male god can stay away from her and never fall in love. Down with the bad woman. Stay away from my brother. Don't defile my brother. That's it. To be a person, you need to have self-awareness and never get involved with the male god in my heart. Just as everyone thought she was going to seduce Gu Bei, she pulled her suitcase straight to the corner and stopped in front of Ye Yihe. Upon hearing the commotion, Ye Yihe, who was buried in his studies, finally gave a reaction. He glanced up at her and calmly said, "Are you here?" The woman was clearly dissatisfied with her, snorted hard, turned her head, put down her suitcase, and sat down opposite her. Then, she took out a thick stack of notebooks from her bag and carefully read them. Ye Yihe's mouth curled up when he saw this, and he didn't speak anymore. He continued to bury his head in reading the script. This sudden scene also startled the audience in the live broadcast room, causing a moment of silence without even a barrage. Crab and crab, everyone cheers. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Absence. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 2 Absence. After a moment of silence in the live broadcast room, a large barrage rushed out and frantically scrolled across the screen. Can anyone tell me what just happened? Am I crazy or are they crazy? That's a genius esports champion. How could they not react at all? What's wrong with this world? How could someone leave a handsome guy behind and choose to study? Did I hallucinate? I really didn't expect this. Did they go to the wrong place? This is a love house, how can there be any hint of love here? I remember. I know who they are now. That's right, it's them, they can't be wrong. Then you should speak quickly. You're so anxious. Did you go to the wrong place next door? The two of them are famous involution kings in the entertainment industry. Wherever they go, they get caught up in it, it's like they're crazy, and the involution is so heinous. I also heard that their life motto is, as long as you don't die, roll into death. I seem to have a slight impression. Are they the female celebrities who love and kill each other? What a strange couple. However, didn't their fans always claim that they had a strong career ambition before? They didn't film well and came to record love shows. Must be pretending. If they are really so introverted, why waste time participating in love shows? I guess they must have heard about Gu Bei's participation in this variety show, so they exposed their true nature. You're right upstairs. I used to be a fan of Ye Yihe. She's an actress herself and of course she's very good at acting. Don't be fooled by her. Ye green tea, get out of the entertainment industry. That's right. Get out of the entertainment industry. Don't try to seduce my brother. Just as the audience was chatting enthusiastically, the door of the love house opened again. 4 amateur male guests and 1 petite amateur female guest came in this time. As soon as they entered, they broke the silence indoors and said, "Hello everyone." The closest Ye Yihe's still eyebrows and eyes moved, then closed the script and stood up to greet them. "Hello, Ye Yihe." The woman sitting opposite her was also unwilling to fall behind and followed closely behind, saying, "I am Bai Yan." As it was their first meeting, everyone politely introduced themselves to each other in front of the camera, and finally their gaze fell on Gu Bei, who was sitting in the center playing games. Feeling everyone's gaze, he looked up and looked around, his voice low and magnetic. Gu Bei. Ye Yihe had already guessed his identity, so it was not surprising. I didn't expect to actually see my male god. Gu Shen, I am your loyal fan. I have watched every game of yours, and you are our pride. Another girl looked at Gu Bei excitedly. Upon hearing this, Gu Bei looked up at her again, nodded at her, and said in a faint tone, "Thank you." "No need to thank you, no need to thank you." The girl was immediately flattered and kept saying. One of the male guests approached Ye Yihe attentively and reached out to her, saying, "Miss Yi, I'm actually your fan too. I really like you. I didn't expect you to be even more beautiful than on TV. Thank you for liking me, I will continue to work hard," Ye Yihe said with a standard smile. "So, actually I wanted to ask. What do you think of me? Will you choose me when we pair up later?" The male guest couldn't conceal his excitement. As for Ye Yihe's expression, there hasn't been much change from beginning to end. He calmly said, "It's pretty good. As for the pairing, if the director doesn't have any objections, I don't care." "Humph, what do you see in her?" "I'll tell you, she's just a machine without emotions." "Are you in love with her?" "You just wait to cry." Bai Yan rolled her big eyes beside her. Ye Yihe did not comment on this. In her eyes, nothing is more important than internal competition in the industry. Her ultimate goal is to compete with her peers and reach the pinnacle of life. Seeing that the atmosphere was not very harmonious, someone immediately changed the topic and said, "Didn't the production team say there would be 5 female guests? Why haven't the remaining 2 people arrived yet?" Yeah, I heard that the national goddess Su Xingxing will also participate this time. I don't know if it's true. I also heard rumors that the director summarized the experiences and lessons of the previous 2 seasons' failures. This season, he spent a lot of money inviting 4 female celebrities, including singer Su Xingxing and first-tier actress Fang Huihui. Another male guest agreed. Before they could finish speaking, a gentle voice rang out at the door. "Oh my, the luggage is really heavy." Upon hearing this sound, a male guest immediately ran over to open the door. Everyone's gaze also gathered at the door in unison. I saw a charming woman wearing a red slit dress standing outside the door, holding a suitcase and carrying a limited edition luxury bag in her right hand. "Hello everyone, I don't need to introduce myself anymore. Everyone should know who I am," the woman chuckled. The male guest who ran over to open the door just now immediately answered, "Of course not, Miss Fang, come in quickly. We are all waiting for you. I'm really sorry, there have been too many announcements recently, so I came a bit late and made you wait for a long time." Fang Huihui apologized. It's okay. Goddess, please go in and take a seat. I'll help you with your luggage." "Thank you then," Fang Hui blushed. Seeing Ye Yihe and Bai Yan behind him, Fang Sisi immediately greeted them warmly and said, "Hello, we've met again. It's so nice to meet you here." As both members of the entertainment industry, Ye Yihe and Bai Yan, although unhappy with her, still casually said with a smile, "We are also very happy to participate in the same variety show as Senior Fang." The director, who had been staring at the screen behind the scenes, finally picked up the microphone and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Love Room. This season, we have invited a total of 10 guests, 5 men and 5 women. I believe everyone has also noticed that there is one female guest missing from the scene, and that is our popular singer, Su Xingxing." One of the male guests couldn't wait and said, "Director, please bring out the finale of the song, we can't wait anymore." The director cleared his throat and continued, "Unfortunately, we would like to inform everyone that one of the originally scheduled guests, Su Xingxing, has a temporary physical condition and will be temporarily absent from our previous variety show recordings. She will be back in the group after her body fully recovers." As soon as these words were spoken, the fans who were waiting in front of the screen for Su Xingxing to appear suddenly became calm. What does it mean? What's wrong with my goddess? Is the production team intentionally teasing us? Using my goddess to create gimmicks and gain popularity? You're so shameless. No wonder you invite such an unremarkable little celebrity like Ye Yihe. Birds of a feather flock together. Starting from today, one's whole life is black. End of this chapter. Chapter 3, Partner of Lovers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3, Partner of Lovers. Upon hearing that Su Xingxing could not come, several male guests were clearly feeling a bit disappointed, except for Gu Bei, who remained expressionless throughout the journey. The director continued, "Due to the sudden incident, we were unable to notify everyone in time. We hope everyone can understand." At this point, the barrage in the live broadcast room also slowly changed. Misunderstanding, it's all misunderstandings. The goddess suddenly had a high fever early this morning and is currently recuperating in the hospital. I apologize to the production team on behalf of all the fans, it was our recklessness. I'm sorry. We misunderstood the production team earlier. Thank you to the director for taking care of the goddess. Please accept my knee. Pure passers-by passing by. May I ask what's going on? I just went to watch it specifically, and it was indeed Su Xingxing who posted the update. She is indeed one of the invited female guests of this season and fell ill temporarily, which is why she was absent from the recording. I found out that the fans misunderstood the program team and advised them not to be impulsive. Undoubtedly a god-level fan in the fan circle, he is indeed very disciplined. Beautiful and powerful, with such friendly fans, I've been a fan. Follow me now. I have also been a fan. Miss, you are really good. At the same time, the director also breathed a sigh of relief and continued, I believe all the guests have already understood the program rules. This season's Love House is divided into 8 episodes. Firstly, the guests need to decide who their first romantic partner will be through a lottery. There are 2 lottery boxes in front of you. Guests who have drawn the same number will form a pair. Due to Su Xingxing's temporary absence, male guests who have drawn different numbers can choose to join any group on stage. Do you have any objections? Everyone expressed no objection. Since everyone has no objections, I announce the official start of the draw. Bless my male god not to draw Ye Yihe or Bai Yan, these 2 unconventional creatures. They have a deep plan. Especially Ye Yihe, she clearly wants to attract her brother's attention. Don't think I don't know what she's up to. I hope my brother can be with Fang Huihui, they are the best match. That's right, Fang Shihui looks much better than them at first glance, he's not at the same level. God must bless the goddess of meeting and Gu Bei to be together. The guests came forward to draw lots, and Ye Yihe, standing on the edge, casually took a note. Now please open the notes in your hands. As the director's words fell, the live cameras all focused on the paper in their hands. The first one to open is Bai Yan, whose paper is written with the number 3. Mine is also 3. A male guest silently raised his hand. Next was another amateur female guest, who drew the number 2. I also drew 2. The speaker was clearly reluctant, but due to the program rules, they could only step forward. Everyone present could tell that he was actually trying to partner with Fang Huihui. Ye Yihe looked up at Fang Xuanxian and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Unfortunately, Fang Xuanxian clearly didn't think so. Now there are only 5 people left who have not yet been revealed, and Fang Huihui's gaze is firmly fixed on Gu Bei, afraid that others may not see that the person she is interested in is Gu Bei. At this moment, Gu Bei's cold voice suddenly reached everyone's ears. Number 1. Fang Huihui, who was closest to him, immediately opened the note in her hand upon hearing the words. However, the next second, her smile froze on her face, and her hand holding the note unconsciously exerted more force, with her eyes fixed on the number on it. At this moment, the camera reached Fang Huihui's hand and saw the number 4 clearly written on it, not the number 1. So now only Ye Yihe and the other 2 ordinary people have not been revealed yet. Ye Yihe frowned slightly and then opened the note in his hand. It's the number 1. This also means that she will become a romantic partner with Gu Bei in the future. Black screen. It must be black screen. How could this little slut be so lucky? She must have bribed the staff. I'm really angry. The male god is also too unlucky. It's better to be alone with such a strange person. It's really speechless. The spicy chicken program must be a dark side. I feel sorry for my brother Gu Bei. Although the audience was not satisfied with this result, the popularity of the live broadcast room skyrocketed, and the traffic skyrocketed instantly. The director was naturally pleased with this and continued, now, male guests with different numbers can choose to join any group. Undoubtedly, the male guest chose the most famous Fang Hui. Fang Xuanxian's face looked better now, and he looked at Gu Bei with reluctance before raising the corner of his mouth and saying, "Welcome to join us." The director continued, since our program currently only has 4 girls, the room allocation is 1 for Ye Yihe and Fang Huihui, and 1 for Bai Yan and Lu Yao. As for the boys, He Jun and Gao Shutian, Ma Songhua and Wang Yu. Gu Bei, everyone should also understand his schedule and work nature, so the other room is left for him to live alone. What do you think? I have no objection, Fang Hui said. Ye Yihe didn't care about these either and nodded, I can do anything. Since she agrees, then I have no objection, Bai Yan said immediately upon hearing the words. The other few people naturally have no objections. Since everyone has no objections, you can take your luggage upstairs and rest for a while. The first task will be released in half an hour. Ye Yihe held the script in one hand and walked towards the staircase with a suitcase in the other. Sister Yihe, my suitcase is too heavy. Can you take mine with you? Fang Huihui suddenly spoke up and called out. Upon hearing this, Ye Yihe stopped and turned to look at her 32-inch oversized suitcase, saying, Senior, I don't like spinach. What is she talking about? The goddess asked her to help carry her luggage, not asking her what she likes to eat. Who cares if she likes spinach? It's really speechless. That's it. If you don't want to help, just say it directly. It's really selfish. Nu Zhen lowered her head and vomited. Wait, I seem to understand what she means. What she means is, I'm not Popeye, ha ha ha. However, to be honest, Fang Hui would bring such a large suitcase. Not to mention being a girl, even me, who is 1.8 meters tall, would be scared to look at it. Ha ha ha, burst into laughter in an instant. I almost didn't realize earlier, who is this female guest? She's so humorous. Ye Yihe is too full, isn't he just asking her to help pick up a suitcase? As for speaking so harshly. It's just a suitcase, I really care about it, stingy. I'm really speechless. I just did a favor and didn't need to be so meticulous. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Friction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Friction. Fang Huihui didn't expect her to refuse her. You know, every move they make now will be live streamed, isn't she afraid of being scolded? I'm sorry, Sister Yihe, I shouldn't have asked for your help. Please don't be angry with me. Fang Xixi's eyes turned red, as if he had suffered some great injustice. The majority of the audience in the live broadcast room were fans of Gu Bei and Fang Xuanxian. Seeing Fang Xuanxian suffer injustice, her fans also instantly became angry. This Ye Yihe is too extreme, like a crazy dog, with no conscience at all. Grass. I'm so angry, why doesn't this slut die? I'm sorry, my family will encounter this kind of garbage. It's too unlucky. What a big score. Counting it all, Hui Hui is her senior. Is that how she respects her senior? This kind of unethical scumbag should get out of the entertainment industry now. Damn it, this damn bitch is too cheap. At first glance, she looks like a fox spirit. She must have climbed many people's beds to get to this position, right? Bah! What a disgusting thing. Hui Hui, don't cry. I feel sorry. Is it my problem? How do I feel that Ye Yihe did it without any problems? On the contrary, Fang Shihui was a bit affected. Upstairs, I spoke my mind. This suitcase was brought by Fang Hui himself, not by Ye Yihe. Why should she take it? Some people's fans may be too unreasonable, right? I also support Ye Yihe. Not to mention whether she can handle such a large suitcase, even if she has this ability, she has no obligation to help others, right? Some fans are really worried about their quality. Pooh! How much did the Navy upstairs charge? Even such heartless words can be spoken. The Navy still wants to wash it. Report it, thank you. In an instant, hashtag Ye Yihe's love show was a big name, and the hot search that seemed to make senior hashtag cry made it onto the list. Anyway, the live broadcast is still ongoing. Ye Yihe pinched his delicate fingertips and blushed his eyes as he looked up at the meeting. Senior, how could I possibly be angry with you? It's all because I'm not strong enough to carry your luggage. Senior, you won't blame me, will you? In an instant, the situation reversed. Ye Yihe didn't do this wrong. On the contrary, some people's fan quality needs to be improved. I am a pure passerby, and I don't think Ye Yihe is doing anything wrong. From the appearance alone, I feel that Fang Huihui looks more sturdy. If she can't even lift it herself, how could Ye Yihe possibly lift it? Isn't this something that people can't do? Yeah. And she brought this suitcase herself. Why ask someone to help her with it? Even a 3-year-old child knows that she has to do her own thing, right? Suddenly, I felt that Fong Sisi was so pretentious and had a bit of a bad impression. Of course not, Fong Shihue replied with a smile in front of the camera, even though his teeth were almost shattered just now. Male guest Gao Shutian, who took the initiative to form a team with Fong Huihui, quickly walked forward and said, "If Miss Fong doesn't mind, I'll help you with it." "Of course not, thank you very much." Fong Hui smiled brightly. Gao Shutian was mesmerized by her smile and his footsteps were a bit ethereal. "No, you're welcome," he said as he spoke. He went to pick up Fong Hui's suitcase. The first time he didn't lift it, he didn't give up and picked it up again. However, the suitcase remained motionless, and the scene suddenly felt a bit awkward. Puff. Bai Yan couldn't help but burst out laughing. Gao Shutian didn't expect it to be so heavy, and his face suddenly didn't look good, but he had already spoken his words. He could only take a deep breath and bravely lifted the suitcase. "Isn't it a bit overweight?" "I'm sorry, I didn't have any experience participating in a love show for the first time," Fong Hui whispered softly. Upon hearing this, Gao Shutian immediately said, "No, it's just right. Don't worry, leave it to me." Even Ye Yihe couldn't help but give him 2 more glances. This guy is really fighting. I saw him carrying his suitcase with both hands, dragging his heavy steps slowly forward, almost stopping every few steps to rest and catch his breath, and sweat also rising from his forehead. The barrage exploded instantly. "Ha ha ha. Do you want to be so funny? Is the production team trying to make me laugh? I've already felt awkward for him. It's like a large-scale social death scene. He must be extremely regretful now, right? Ha ha ha." At this moment, Gao Shutian's inner OS. "I just want to brush my favor in front of the goddess, and I don't want to die on the stairs." Curious about what is inside Fong Hui's suitcase. Why is her suitcase so much larger than others? Do you think Fong Hui deliberately made things difficult for Ye Yihe just now? With so many people present, why did she choose Ye Yihe? This is the luggage she brought, doesn't she know how heavy it is? What the upstairs said makes sense. If she really wants to find someone to help, she should also be looking for a strong male guest, right? You guys stop talking nonsense. My family is not like this person. Bah. Ye Yihe is just a hypocritical woman, not even worthy of lifting shoes for my family. The Navy will die for me. After placing her luggage, Ye Yihe casually found a chair to sit down and continue reading the script. Fong Hui followed closely behind with a smile on his face and said, "Sister Yihe, what are you looking at?" Ye Yihe, whose thoughts were interrupted, was too lazy to look up and calmly replied, "The decision of the world." Upon hearing the name, Fong Hui's smile widened and she walked up to her, saying, "I almost forgot if you didn't say it. We're going to collaborate on a new drama soon. You should be playing the second female lead, right?" Ye Yihe was not affected at all and calmly flipped a page, "Yes." Fong Hui, who had intended to stimulate her, didn't expect her to have this reaction. Her smile froze for a moment, but fortunately she quickly adjusted and continued, "Don't work too hard either. This is not the crew. Since you're here to participate in the romance show, of course you need to relax a bit. Thank you for your concern, senior." Ye Yihe spoke very seriously. However, in just a few decades of life, we must work hard and strive no matter when or where we are, so that we can continuously improve. Fong Shihue said, "Has this child been foolish in learning?" The barrage was also filled with laughter. "She's really a weirdo, laughing at me. Is she having a brain problem? Is it necessary to work so hard as an actress? She's really annoying, she loves to pretend. Who didn't know she was selling her persona? Don't be deceived by her. Yes, she's deliberately showing us. Don't be deceived by her appearance for passers-by. If you don't believe it, just wait and see. She just wants to seduce Gu Bei, deliberately acting very unconventional, just to attract Gu Bei's attention, scheming dog. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. First task. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. First task. Half an hour later. After the rest just now, it is believed that everyone has regained their physical strength. Next, the first task will be released, where every second counts. Guests need to find ways to earn travel expenses to go to the official recording location. The lovers who arrive first will receive a key clue. As soon as the director's words were spoken, the guests immediately let out a mournful cry. Isn't this a love show? Shouldn't we have a spectacular love story? What the hell? Did I hear you right? Earning travel expenses. Are the production team serious? On the other hand, Ye Yihe and Gu Bei beside him didn't seem to have much reaction from beginning to end. Upon seeing this, Bai Yan immediately exclaimed, "Isn't it just about earning travel expenses? Isn't that simple? Director, do you have any other rules? During the task, it is important to always keep your identity hidden and not be recognized by passers-by, otherwise it will be considered invalid." The director said as he took out 4 envelopes. Each envelope contains an initial capital of 50 yuan and the destination of this trip. Please keep it safe. After explaining everything, the director and others withdrew from the Love House, and the live broadcast continued. What should we do now? Are we really going to earn travel expenses? He Jun asked with a bitter face. Lu Yao also followed with a worried expression and said, "No wonder we confiscated our phones as soon as we came in. The program team's tricks are too deep, right?" At this moment, Fang Huihui stood up and said, "Since the program team has arranged it this way, let's quickly find a way to make money and rush to the destination." Seeing the goddess speak, Gao Shutian, who was standing behind her, agreed, "Miss Fang is right. It's better to complete the task as soon as possible instead of wasting time here." After finishing speaking, he looked at Fang Hui pleasantly and said, "Miss Fang, where are we going now?" Upon hearing this, Fang Xuanxi did not answer him, but instead looked at Gu Bei beside Ye Yihe. "Gu Bei, Sister Yihe, do you have any ideas? Many people have great power, otherwise we can form a team together. How about that?" Gu Bei didn't even glance at her and walked towards the door, as if he hadn't heard her speak at all. Ye Yihe's thoughts were in line with his. Seeing him leave, he declined and said, "Thank you for your kindness, senior. Let's leave first." Leaving behind this sentence, Ye Yihe also followed suit. As she watched them leave, Fang Huihui's hand on her side unconsciously tightened. When did she suffer such injustice? What a good Gu Bei. What a Ye Yihe. That's really great. Fang Huihui was almost furious in his heart, but on the surface, he still maintained a smile and whispered softly, "Then let's set off too." Standing behind her, Gao Shutian and Wang Yu immediately replied, "Okay." Bai Yan and others followed closely behind. On the other side. "Boss, how do you sell this balloon?" Ye Yihe walked into an ordinary grocery store. The shop owner crossed his legs and played with his phone while chewing on melon seeds, casually saying, "The small one costs 2 yuan, the big one costs 5 yuan. I'll take all of these." Ye Yihe took out the 50 yuan given by the production team and placed it on the table. The shop owner was taken aback for a moment, then put down his phone with a smile on his face and said, "Oh, customer, you really have good taste. But I have one more request," Ye Yihe said again. The shopkeeper said happily, "You can tell me, what request?" "I'll tell you later," Ye Yihe said as he walked towards Gu Bei standing at the door and asked directly, "Are you willing to help?" Upon hearing this, Gu Bei frowned and his expression seemed a bit displeased. Each guest has a miniature camera on their body, and in order to improve the program effect, the director team has specially prepared a separate live broadcast room for each guest, making it convenient for the audience to choose to watch. Therefore, as soon as Ye Yihe approaches Gu Bei, the barrage is instantly flashed on the screen. Bad woman, quickly stay away from her brother. Step back, step back. Brother, run. Don't be touched by this little slut, she's just a lunatic. You probably don't know yet. She just spent all the initial funds given by the program team. What? Is she crazy? That money is not her own, why does she make the decision? I saw with my own eyes that she used all her money to buy balloons for children to play with. It's really weird. There's no need to do this to attract the attention of the male god, right? Laughing to death. She shouldn't have thought that doing this would make others think she's cute, right? Is her brain really okay? I really hate her. Brother Gu Bei is almost killed by her. I'm so angry. You guys are clearly annoyed by the expression on the male god's face and strongly demand that the program team change people. That's right. Change people. Ye Yihe, get out of the show. The production team should change people quickly. Don't torture our brother anymore, she's just a crazy critic. Let her stay away from our brother. At this moment, Ye Yihe didn't know that the overwhelming online insults were almost overwhelming her. Seeing Gu Bei silent, she decided to turn around and leave. But at that moment, Gu Bei's thin lips moved slightly and said, "Do you want to make a magic balloon?" Ye Yihe didn't show any interest and nodded directly, "Yes, do you want to join? Just leave the manual work to me, you just need to be responsible for selling it." She paused for a moment and then added, "I have just observed that there is a large amusement park not far from the left, and today is the weekend. There must be many parents bringing their children out to play. If everything goes smoothly, we can leave here soon." What is she saying? Is there something wrong with her brain? Let the male god sell balloons. What is she thinking? How dare she? Does she know how precious our male god's hand is? What if she accidentally hurts her hand and affects future competitions? Can she take responsibility for this? In my opinion, she just came up with the idea of being in the limelight. She's just laughing to death, not risking her life. She really thinks everyone can make magic balloons. Don't make a for nose when the time comes, no one wants to give someone a gift. That's right. Magic balloons may seem simple, but they are actually quite difficult to operate. Just like her, a vase with nothing but a face, don't embarrass yourself. Gu Bei lowered his gaze to look at her, his gaze deep and focused on her delicate white fingers, as if considering. After a moment, he spoke up and said, "Okay." After receiving his reply, Ye Yihe didn't hesitate at all and immediately started working on it. No, can she really do it? Che, it must have been faked. I'm sure I'll get slapped in the face later. Waiting for someone to be slapped hard in the face. You really know how to pretend. If she can do it, I will immediately live stream her hair washing upside down. For the rest of her life, she will eat fast and recite Buddhism. If what she makes can be sold, I'll call her dad for the rest of my life. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Smash Face and Black Powder. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Smash Face and Black Powder. Gu Bei leaned against the door panel and looked at her profile. Her skin was as white as snow, her eyelashes were long and slightly curled, her nose was pointed, and her lips were cherry red. This is the first time he has taken someone up close so seriously. Ye Yihe didn't pay attention to his gaze, only to see her fingertips flipping rapidly. In no time, a butterfly woven from a balloon appeared in front of the camera. "Alright," Ye Yihe looked up at Gu Beiping and said calmly. Without hesitation, Gu Bei reached out to take the balloon she had just made and said, "I'll go take a look." "Okay." After speaking, Ye Yihe lowered his head and picked up the materials to continue with the next one. Gu Bei's gaze paused on her for a moment before moving away and walking towards the nearby amusement park. Did I feel dizzy just now? How do I feel that what she did? Was so realistic. You are not alone. Look, she has made another one. Oh my God, this little flower looks so beautiful, I really want it. Who said she wouldn't do it just now? This clearly is a master. Her hands are too skillful, right? As someone born with manual disabilities, I really envy her. Who just said they were going to live stream upside down hair washing? Quick, fast, when will the live stream be? If I remember correctly, someone just said they would call Ye Yihe dad for the rest of their life, and I would really laugh to death. This slap on the face is really fast, it's popping. Do the little black guys have any pain in their faces? And have you noticed that she looks really stunning, as if she can shine, her beauty is truly impeccable. To be honest, I think she's very real and doesn't seem to be pretending at all. She looks much more pleasing to the eye than others. I think so too. I don't understand why so many people are attacking her. In the following time, Ye Yihe gradually made magic balloons in the shapes of rabbits, tigers, pigs, sunflowers, and so on, each one more exquisite and flawless, which completely silenced the little black guys squatting in the live broadcast room. After a while, Gu Bei's tall figure appeared in Ye Yihe's line of sight. Upon seeing this, Ye Yihe pointed to the finished product at hand and reminded, "These are all done." As soon as she finished speaking, a group of children suddenly appeared behind Gu Bei. "Brother, is she the fairy sister you mentioned?" "The fairy sister is really beautiful, she looks like the princess on TV. Many balloons. And my favorite little pig." Now not only Ye Yihe was stunned, but even the audience in the live broadcast room was dumbfounded. What situation? Where did these children come from? Immortal sister. They shouldn't be talking about Ye Yihe, right? Many people suddenly flooded into the live broadcast room, and a kind-hearted person explained, these children all came with Gu Bei. Just now, the male god went to the amusement park alone. Halfway through, a parent caught his eye on the balloon. He thought things would end here, but he was stopped by the parent just a few steps away. At first, we thought Ye Yihe's making something bad, but he wanted to ask if he could buy more, ahaha. You should have guessed the rest of the story as well. These children were worried about the male god deceiving them, so they followed along. I almost laughed my head off. I'm afraid my brother never expected to be treated as a scammer one day in his life, did he? Ha ha ha. At the same time, Gu Bei's expression was a bit complicated, and his tone remained calm as he said, "It's like this, they all like the balloons you made, so they came along." The children rushed to Ye Yihe's side with all their heads and chattered, "Fairy sister, did you do all this? Sister, you are really amazing. Wow, fairy sister, you must have fallen from the sky, right? Aren't all the fairies in the sky as beautiful as you? Beautiful sister, can you make me a little lamb?" The little boy looked up at her with hopeful eyes. Ye Yihe nodded at the words and said, "Of course you can." Gu Bei stood quietly at the door, watching a group of children surrounding Ye Yihe. The scene was lively. "I want this. I also want this. Fairy sister, I want this little rabbit." Ye Yihe's movements were very fast, and in no time he pinched the balloon into the shape the children wanted. "Thank you, sister. Fairy sister, your wife is too amazing." I know. Mama told me that it's called. A little girl with pigtails scratched her head, "Oh. I remember, lifelike. My sister's Peppa Pig is exactly the same as on TV." Ye Yihe also smiled slightly on his face and said, "Just like it." The accompanying parents happily paid and left with their children. After seeing off the person, Ye Yihe sat in a chair, smiling and counting the money, just like a small money lover. Seeing Gu Bei still standing at the door, she didn't forget to wave at him and said, "What are you standing there for? Come over and collect the money." Gu Bei frowned slightly and said, "I'll go out later. You should keep this money safe." "Where are you going?" Ye Yihe looked at him with confusion. The amusement park. He paused for a moment and then added, selling balloons. No need. It seemed like something was on her mind, and Ye Yihe's smile gradually brightened. We just need to wait here next, and someone will come knocking on us. Gu Bei's eyes showed some confusion, but he didn't say much. At this moment, the barrage in the live broadcast room became a scene of noise. Cut. A self-righteous woman is really nauseating. Who does she think she is? Didn't she just make a few balloons? If it weren't for her brother's actions just now, she might not be able to sell any of them. A certain third-tier celebrity wouldn't really think someone would come knocking on her door to buy what she made, would they? Stop talking. Wait for her to be slapped in the face. Waiting for being slapped +1. The cunning female watch is a little far away from my brother. I don't want to see her for a moment, I'm looking down. About 5 minutes later, a parent holding their child appeared at the door. The little girl saw Ye Yihe and the balloon next to her and said happily, "Mama, I found it." The parents next to the little girl approached Ye Yihe and said, "Hello, it's like this. When we just came over from there, we met a group of children who said there was a beautiful sister selling balloons here. My daughter really likes little rabbits. Can you please help us make one?" The little girl also quickly nodded and said, "Sister, you look like a big star, you look even better than my mother." Danger. The danger of capitalization. Before they could speak, Ye Yihe quickly changed the topic and said, "Is that the little rabbit? It will be ready soon." The black fans in the live broadcast room couldn't hold their faces anymore. Just as they wanted to continue speaking hard, before they could take action, many passers-by came over one after another, and even consciously formed a long line at the door. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Bad Woman Ye Yihe. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Bad Woman Ye Yihe. Those black fans are completely speechless. What else can they say? Awkwardly covering his face has been swollen from being beaten, so hard to beat. Woo 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 woo. Gu Bei stepped forward to help, and although there was no interaction between the two, the atmosphere was very harmonious. On the other side. At this moment, the trio of Fang Hui was standing on a street by the roadside performing their talent. Singing. Before the official start, they still said and laughed, feeling that the task was too easy and not difficult at all. Unfortunately, the ideal is full, but the reality is very bony. Although they showed great effort, there were very few people willing to stop and listen to their singing, let alone give rewards. Fang Shihui, holding the microphone, was almost unable to maintain a fake smile on his face, and his expression looked very strange. And Gao Shutian and Wang Yu also had a worried expression on their faces. Are these people crazy? The goddess of meeting sings so beautifully, aren't they at all tempted? As soon as he said this, Fang Cici's face immediately became even worse. He put down the microphone and said, "My voice is not comfortable. You can continue singing." Feeling displeased by Fang Xuanxian, Wang Yu quickly said, "It's all because the place chosen by the program team is too remote and cannot reveal their identity. It's too tricky." After he finished speaking, he nudged Gao Shutian next to him and said, "Right." Gao Shutian quickly agreed, "It's all because the program team didn't choose the right place. We're here to participate in the love show, not to work and earn money. I don't know how the other guests are progressing either. Their current situation must be similar to ours, maybe even worse than ours," Wang Yu gloated. Upon hearing these words, Fang Xuanxian's face improved a lot, and the corner of his mouth slightly raised. "That's right, there are so few people here, how can it be so easy to earn travel expenses? Although we only made 20, with the 50 given by the program team, it's still 70 yuan. At this moment, the vast majority of the fans who were squatting in their live broadcast room were fans of Fang Hui, and the barrage was also filled with praise. "Our Hui Bao is really amazing. She has a beautiful heart and a sweet voice, and her singing is so beautiful. Exactly. Those passers-by really don't know what's going on, and that's why we, Huibao, are working so hard to do business. Feeling sorry for Huibao, these two ordinary male guests are also too useless, aren't they? Heartbroken treasure +1, not only do I have to complete the tasks assigned by the program team, but I also need to bring 2 useless drag bottles. I just returned from another live broadcast room, and the guests in that group haven't made a penny yet. So, at the critical moment, it's still our goddess of luck. At this moment, Fang Huihui suggested, why don't we go see what other guests are doing? In case they encounter any difficulties, maybe we can still help. Gao Shutian and Wang Yu naturally wouldn't refuse and agreed to it all at once. Goddess is truly beautiful and kind-hearted. Even though she has been like this, she still remembers to help others. As expected, there are no fans of the wrong person. Look at how kind we are, Hui Bao. Learn from some unknown 18th tier female celebrity. This is the pattern. I'm a fan. A subtle calculation flashed in Fang Huihui's eyes, and then he walked towards the direction where Ye Yihe had left with the VJ behind him, seemingly unintentionally. Dare to snatch a man from her. Then don't blame her for being merciless. The reason why she took on this love show was partly due to the singer Su Xingxing, and partly because her agent received news that the recently popular Genius Esports champion Gu Bei would also participate. Although she already has someone she likes in her heart, her popularity online has been a bit low recently, so her agent asked her to take this opportunity to have more contact with Gu Bei and hype up the popularity of CP. But to his surprise, Ye Yihe intercepted his beard from the beginning, and when he was carrying luggage, he was publicly rejected by her. Fang Huihui naturally couldn't swallow this breath in his heart. At the same time, Bai Yan was looking at Ye Yihe negotiating with the convenience store owner with a displeased expression on her face. He Jun, who was partnering with her, first looked at Ye Yihe and Gu Bei inside, and then carefully looked at Bai Yan and asked, "Miss Bai, are you rushing over here just to take a look at Gu Bei?" Without waiting for Bai Yan to answer, he seemed to be afraid of her misunderstanding and quickly added, "Don't misunderstand me. I have no other intention. Everyone has the right to pursue happiness, let alone Gu Bei. He is not only handsome, but also the champion of esports. It's normal for you to like him." At the end, He Jun's voice gradually weakened. "What did you say just now?" Bai Yan turned her head to look at him and couldn't help but widen her eyes. "Who told you I'm here to see Gu Bei? I'm clearly here to find that bad woman, Ye Yihe." What? He Jun was confused. So, she didn't rush to chase after Gu Bei despite the task assigned by the production team just now, not because she saw him, but because of another female guest. The bad woman in her mouth is Ye Yihe, who is also a celebrity like her. Isn't it true that even if a celebrity in the entertainment industry dislikes someone no matter how much, they won't easily show it on their face, but instead stab a knife behind their back? They are currently live streaming. Can you say this casually? Thinking of this, He Jun couldn't help but want to see what Ye Yihe's reaction was. He only heard her say seriously to the convenience store owner, "What you said is not wrong. How do you calculate the tuition fee?" What tuition fees? What to learn? A pile of questions lingered in He Jun's mind, making his already dull mind even more confused. Before he could figure it out, another gentle voice came from not far behind. "What a coincidence, I didn't expect you all to be here." Immediately after, Fang Huihui and others also walked into the convenience store, and the already small area suddenly became a bit crowded. "Why are you all here? Have you earned enough travel expenses?" Gao Shutian asked in confusion. Speaking of this, He Jun's expression was a bit depressed and he said bluntly, "Not yet, what about you?" He and Bai Yan quickly found a restaurant to help tidy up the table after leaving their love house, but not long after, the restaurant owner informed them that something suddenly happened at home and they had to close the shop. After paying them half an hour's wages, they hurriedly left. They had originally planned to find a new restaurant, but to their surprise, Bai Yan saw Gu Beiho chasing after them on the road, and he naturally followed along. After seeing his expression, Fang Huihui's gaze continued to fall on Ye Yihe. When she saw the boss sitting across from her with a puzzled expression, she instinctively thought they wanted to stay in the store and help earn travel expenses. She immediately said, "Yihe, you better not make things difficult for the boss. This store is already small, and even if you want to make money, you cannot force the boss to take you in." After speaking, she looked at the convenience store owner with a hint of apology and said, "I'm really sorry for causing you trouble." End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Received 5,000 yuan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 9. Provoking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Provoking. Then, Ye Yihe turned his head to look at the convenience store owner and asked, "Do you have paper and pen?" The hands-on teaching on site is obviously not very practical, as she has exhausted all the balloons in the store. The latter nodded immediately, with a bright smile on his face. "Yes. I'll go get it now." The onlooker Gao Shutian couldn't help but sigh. This operation is too complicated, isn't it? If it weren't for witnessing it with my own eyes, I wouldn't even dare to think about it. He Jun also looked envious and spoke in agreement. "Yes, I thought Miss Bai and I had already made a good profit of 100 yuan, but I didn't expect Miss Yi and Gu Bei to be so strong. I am truly convinced." At this moment, Fang Huihui, who witnessed the whole process firsthand, only felt a burning pain on her face, and these words were like slapping her face hard. "It's all because of Ye Yihe, this little slut. She must have done it on purpose. Intentionally embarrassing her in front of so many people." Fang Huihui's eyes flashed with a hint of malice, and in the blink of an eye, he regained his usual softness. He whispered, "Sister Yihe is really amazing. No wonder even the cold Gu Bei is willing to be your companion." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's gaze couldn't help but fall on Gu Bei. The latter focused on his phone, his slender fingers typing on the screen and keyboard without hesitation. Thinking of what Ye Yihe had just said, there was no doubt that he was taking a taxi. "Everyone. Why are you so obedient?" Ye Yihe paused with the pen in his hand for a moment, furrowed his brow slightly, and then looked up at Fang Huihui, saying strangely, "Gu Bei and I are currently in a cooperative relationship. If it weren't for him attracting customers, we wouldn't have achieved the current effect, so there isn't any accompanying effect between us." Fang Hui choked, but unfortunately couldn't say anything to refute, otherwise it would only cause everyone's resentment. She just deliberately praised Ye Yihe not out of sincerity, but implying that Ye Yihe would use Gu Bei by any means in order to make a name for himself and even take all the credit. But she didn't expect Ye Yihe not to be fooled, let alone her sharp teeth and sharp mouth. Now it seems that she underestimated her before. At this moment, the barrage in the live broadcast room was also filled with praise, and a very small number of eerie barrage were quickly suppressed. Suddenly felt that she wasn't that annoying either. Pure passers-by. To be honest, although Gu Bei also helped with this matter, if it weren't for her skills, things wouldn't have progressed so smoothly. At first, I thought she would be proud of herself, but I didn't expect her to be so selfless, and I was a bit tempted to fan her. Upstairs, I spoke my heart out. I am Gu Bei's true fan, and I am really, very grateful to this little sister for not letting my brother suffer in this stage. And me. I'm also a fan of Gu Bei. Although I don't want my brother to be in a relationship, I have to say that Ye Yihe is not as bad as I imagined. On the contrary, Fang Huihui feels a bit of tea-like. Do I think her serious explanation is a bit cute to me alone? She looks cute and silly. What if Rua feels swollen? Stop the one in front of me. This is my wife. I can have you run 39 meters first, and then take out my 40-meter big knife. No one will compete with me. All right. Gu Bei's faint voice was like a heavenly melody. At the same time, Ye Yihe also wrote down all the methods on paper, and finally wrote his contact information at the bottom. If you have any further questions, remember to leave me a message. The shopkeeper carefully put away the paper like a treasure and said, "Okay, thank you, Miss Yi. Happy cooperation." Ye Yihe took the phone from Gu Bei's hand and waved it towards the camera, saying, "Director, I will temporarily keep my phone for myself." Director. Dare I say no? Let's go then, Ye Yihe said in a light tone. Gu Bei had no objection to this and nodded, okay. And Bai Yan was obviously stimulated, so she grabbed He Jun's arm and walked out, not forgetting to say, "Don't look, hurry up and work. We absolutely can't lose to her. Yen, it's not that I deliberately hit you, but rather to make you realize the truth earlier. You've already lost all your bitter tea. Hey, my poor daughter, why can't she think so hard at a young age? Who can't compare to? She insists on comparing to Ye Yihe, this pervert. Hey. I can testify that in the past, Yen has never won, which is absurd. His mother, she opened the door to the absurd, which is absurd. Is it really fake? Is it so tragic? More real than pearls? For example, half a month ago she and Ye Yihe participated in the recording of the Dance Forest Conference program on Beiyuan TV. The two of them danced on the same stage, and there was a climax on the scene. There is no doubt that Bai Yan successfully won second place. As for who was the first place, I don't need to say more, do I? For example, last week when they were interviewed together, Yen deliberately approached Ye Yihe with a strange and sinister attitude, and was scolded to the point of being unbearable. Also, last month when they were invited to attend an event, they accidentally bumped into each other's clothes. Although Yen's figure was not bad, standing with Ye Yihe was still a bit inferior. Also, the filming of The World's Decision is about to begin, and you probably didn't know that Ye Yihe was going to play the second female lead, did you? And according to reliable sources, Bai Yan also auditioned for the second female lead at that time and ultimately won the third female lead. Yihe, please wait first. At this moment, Fang Huihui spoke out and stopped her. Ye Yihe and Gu Bei, who had just walked out of the store, turned around to look at her, with the latter looking slightly displeased. Fang Huihui seemed to be invisible, his gaze fixed on Ye Yihe, and he said, "It's like this. They and I were just performing and singing over there, but the people here don't seem to appreciate it very much, which has led to very little profit for us. It's getting late, so I want to discuss with you whether we can lend us some money first." As if afraid of her refusal, she paused for a moment and hurriedly said, "Don't worry, I will definitely return this money to you. It's okay for me to suffer some hardships myself, but I can't let them suffer with me, otherwise I really have a conscience." Upon hearing her say this, both Gao Shutian and Wang Yu were clearly moved and spoke up, "Miss Fang, my rough skin and thick flesh are fine. It's all my fault that I'm not as skilled as Miss Yi, who made you suffer with me. Gao Shutian is right. It's all because we're not good. You've already done a good job, don't blame yourself." Fang Huihui's eyes flashed with a hint of pride, he was really two stupid fools who couldn't be any dumber. But as soon as she looked up, she met Ye Yihe's smiling eyes, and her heart suddenly clucked. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Bitch and Bitch. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Bitch and Bitch. I didn't expect Master Fang to be so kind, which is really admirable. Ye Yihe paused, his face turned pale, but I'm not the only one who has the final say on this matter, and presumably the program team will not agree. Fang Cc's smile froze for a moment, and he chatted, "How could that be? As long as you're willing, the production team will definitely not have any objections, unless it's because you're unwilling." She didn't finish the rest of the sentence, but the implied meaning inside and outside was that Ye Yihe was very stingy and didn't want to help others at all. At this moment, the barrage was also filled with curses, especially among fans of Fang Xuan, whose combat power exploded. "You've vomited. If you don't want to help, just say it directly. Do you need to be so hypocritical? Ye Yihe, black all his life. Fortunately, I thought she was quite good just now. I didn't expect her to be such a selfish person, and she was really speechless. Sorrow for my family's treasure. Woo, why doesn't Ye Yihe, this vicious woman, die yet? Hurry up and die. Living is also a waste of air. Xiaobao has always been like this, always thinking about others, suffering and trying to help others. On the other hand, Ye Yihe is simply a poisonous woman. It's really too much. Everyone is a group, shouldn't we help each other? There's no sense of teamwork at all. Get down. It's so down. If you don't want to borrow it, just say it directly. Who should I show this to? It's disgusting. Do I think Ye Yihe did the right thing alone? Although she earned 5,000 yuan, this money was earned by her own strength. Is it her freedom to borrow it or not? Do we need to have such great malice towards her? I also think the same way. The money was earned by Ye Yihe himself, and borrowing or not is her right. Besides, she didn't seem to say not to borrow. On the contrary, Fang Huihui was a bit aggressive, and there was also a suspicion of guiding fans to cyber-attack Ye Yihe. It's really scary to think carefully. Hehe, is it the navy bought by Ye Yihe upstairs? How much does it cost per piece? Take me with you to make money. Ye Yihe has been black all his life, don't explain. The Navy's money collector will die for the whole family. Senior Fang, didn't you do your homework before participating in this program? Ye Yihe said with a serious expression, the director of the program team is such a dog. His favorite thing to watch is the guests making a fool of themselves or being stumped. With his personality, he will definitely not miss this great opportunity. A certain director who was mercilessly exposed in his heart said, He really lives in Bumbu. Fang Huihui was taken aback. She had participated in many variety shows, big and small. Which director didn't always respond to her requests? How could she possibly do any homework? This time of course is no exception. Before she could fully recover, Ye Yihe continued, moreover, this money does not belong to me alone. Half of it belongs to Gu Bei, and I have no authority to make decisions for him, so you should first seek his opinion. Upon hearing these words, Fang Huihui instinctively looked towards Gu Bei, who looked somewhat pitiful. Gu Bei, what do you think? No borrowing. He coldly threw out 2 words, not even looking at her directly. Abandoning this sentence, he walked straight to the roadside with his legs crossed. Just a few steps away, he suddenly stopped and turned to look at Ye Yihe, furrowing his brows lightly. Still not leaving. The car is almost here. Oh, here we are, Ye Yihe immediately answered. Fang Sisi looked at their backs, his face turning green and white, and his teeth were almost crushed. This is still the first time she has been rejected by a man, and in front of so many people. As soon as he thought about the scene just now being broadcasted, Fang Xuanxi's hatred towards Ye Yihe grew even more in his heart. It's all her fault. This despicable woman. She will definitely not make her feel better. The director, who doesn't mind watching the excitement, naturally felt the resentment on Fang Xuan's body. The whole person became excited and picked up the walkie-talkie, saying, tell Fang Xuan that she needs to earn travel expenses through her own labor, and remind her to complete the task as soon as possible. The last group to arrive will be punished. The staff who received the instructions could only grit their teeth and approach, saying, Miss Fang, the production team has regulations that only rely on their own labor to earn travel expenses. Also, Miss Yi and her team are on their way to the filming site. Please hurry up and complete the task. The final group will be punished. He finished speaking quickly without giving her a chance to reply, and simply turned off the phone. Feng Xuanxi's expression was a bit stiff, and his smile was also forced. Okay, I understand. Gao Shutian, who has always been nervous, was surprised when he heard this and said, Miss Yi really hit the nail on the head. The director is really not a good person. Feng Xuanxuan's face became increasingly ugly, and he didn't even want to look at him again. He walked around him and said, let's quickly find a way to earn enough travel expenses. Wang Yu immediately followed behind her and flattered, you're right. If it weren't for the delay just now, we might have earned more than they do now. Finally, Gao Shutian muttered softly, how could it be? This child is too sincere, what big truth is he talking nonsense? Ha ha ha. What's wrong with being a little fan of him? He looks really silly. You were laughed at, thank you. Speaking of which, do you think Feng Hui's meeting is a bit fake? And there's also a bit of a slutty vibe. Right, right. I also have this feeling. And her fans are impolite and lacking in character, just like crazy dogs catching and biting each other, it's like a cancer. Who said it wasn't? I was just telling the truth. When I came up, I said I was a Navy soldier and even greeted my whole family. I was really disgusted. Stop talking, stop talking. Everyone, go and watch the separate live broadcast room of Ye Yihe and Gu Bei. They are counting money in the car, and I'm almost laughing to death by them, On the car. Ye Yihe let out a long breath and turned his head to look at Gu Bei sitting next to him. I've finished counting, and you? The latter looked a bit uneasy, but still nodded and said, the total is 278. I have 136 here, which adds up to 414. Plus, the convenience store owner just gave me 5,000, which is 54,114. After deducting the cost of taking a taxi, we'll split the remaining money equally, half for each person. Without hesitation, Gu Bei refused and said, no way. Ye Yihe's face was filled with doubts, what's wrong? I can't take this money, Gu Baimu said with a stern expression on his face. You can take it. Why? This is your income from labor, you deserve it. Besides, even without me today, you can still complete this task. I didn't help, so I can't take this money. He pursed his lips. End of this chapter.